Hey everyone, I'm back and today we're going to be talking about the original A Nightmare on Elm Street. This movie came out in 1984 and it's directed by Wes Craven, and this movie used to be my favorite horror movie when I was really young, and the first time I watched this movie was when I was in 8th grade, and I was absolutely terrified of this movie, and it became like one of my favorite horror movies, if not my favorite at the time. And as time went on, I watched more horror movies, and eventually I saw movies that I think are better than this movie, but I still love this movie. I think it's great and very well made, and the things I like about it are I really love the villain of the movie. I think he's really scary and intimidating, and the dream sequences in this movie, they're really good, and you have some really suspenseful scenes in this movie, and there's one standing out in my mind right now. It's like the third time a character goes into a dream. I think it's the second time and Nancy falls asleep. No, I think it's the third time. My bad. It's the third time she falls asleep, and she's asking Glenn to watch her, played by Johnny Depp. And that scene is absolutely terrifying. Like, it really got to me, and I was genuinely scared, and I really just, it grabbed me, and I just couldn't stop watching the screen. It was that effective for me. And the music in this movie is really great. It never feels as though the music was overused. It was always that, you know, that creepy music that everyone, that's so iconic at this point. That da 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 bum bum bum. That's the best I got. But anyways, but that's what it is, and it's always used perfectly, and it's always used in the scenes that are building up tension, like there's something bad is about to happen. And when characters die in this movie, you really feel as though it was brutal. And the first kill of the movie is great. They're mainly just there as an excuse to move the story forward, but I think the characters in this movie work just fine. And the villain, he never did anything so crazy that it got ridiculous like he kind of does in the sequels, or at least the ones I've seen. I've only seen 1 through 4. And as the series goes along, it gets pretty goofy with each installment for the most part. But this one, it really understands where it should go and how far it's allowed to go, if that makes sense. In any given scene, you could just imagine, oh, if this was like really creative and really far out there like the sequels, then it would probably be goofy. Like, you could say that it doesn't go all out there, and the dreams aren't really all that creative. But I think that works as a strength for this movie, because with it being so restrained in comparison to the sequels with dream sequences, and it doesn't do a whole bunch of really crazy out there scenes, that makes it more terrifying because it doesn't become goofy. I also want to talk about the characters in this movie, and I describe them as simple, but you can understand everything there is to know about these characters from the first scene in which they're introduced. Like, the first scene you see with a character in this movie, you know everything that there is to know about the character, because the movie does such a good job at establishing their personalities, and they feel like real people. And this movie isn't perfect. I do have my flaws with it, but for the most part, it works really well. The only problems that I have with this movie is the third act. I really liked the first act, and the second act was really great, but the third act, I do feel as though it went a little too far, and it got a little goofy for my own liking, and I can't really say how it got goofy because that would spoil the movie. But long story short, it goes a little too far in the third act for me. And one other criticism that I have with this movie is that I do feel as though the pacing could have been a little bit better, because there were certain moments where I was just watching it and not much was going on, and I'm just like, oh, come on, let's just get on to the next scene. Let's get this going, let's get this going, let's go. And eventually it does go, but it's a little patient. Aside from that, I don't really have any other flaws with A Nightmare on Elm Street. I think it's a great horror movie. It does a good job at making me feel tension within a scene. And I've seen this movie a few times, and it's not as good as I remember it being, but definitely better than the last time I saw it. Last time I saw it, I found it to be kind of boring, but this time I really enjoyed it, and there's a lot that I took away from it, and I would highly recommend that you check this movie out, and I'm going to give A Nightmare on Elm Street, the original, an 8 out of 10. Thank you for watching my videos. As always, if you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and comment down below what you thought of A Nightmare on Elm Street down below, the original, not the remake. And my social media links, they will all be in the description down below, so follow me there. And last but not least, subscribe to be a part of Foley Nation, and I'll see you when I get my next review up, and that's going to be for Saw 3. We're going back to the Saw series. And in case you're wondering, I am going to talk about the sequels that come with this collection. And I'm just going to stop after 4 and to save the rest for another time. But anyways, until I get all those videos up, thank you for watching and have a great day.